this is what the student sees. So as a student, this is my sandbox course. This is what my students would see. They would go into, say, the assignment tab. I could also put this in the modules or wherever else I want. And in my case, I'm going to go to my first OpenMath homework. That's what the students would get. So since this is my first time as a student into the system, a quick little tell me about yourself. They have to put their first and last name in. They don't even have to put their own name in. They can put whatever they want in. More on this later. As long as obviously they tell you who they are, the system will link the two of them together. There we go. So I see this. All the information, I can put a little blurb up here. I can put what the points are, what the due date is, all that kind of stuff. You can see LatePasses here, so I can extend my own due date if I want to. Most importantly, I can just press start and I get my assignment. So let's go through a bunch of questions and what they see. So this homework is a homework style. So each question is one at a time and they get multiple tries on each question. I've set up this one for 5 tries and 2% penalty per try. Again, entirely your choice and what you want to do for that. And I do 20 versions. A lot of students kind of go, why don't we get unlimited versions in this course? And I go, because if you get to 20, you need to talk to me. Please don't get to 20. Ideally, if you get to 1, you should talk to me. You can also decide whether it's best score kept, average, all that kind of normal stuff. And I've got show work and LatePasses enabled, and I will talk those as we get to them. So typical math style question, let's put a number into a box. 7.1234. They could put as many as they want. It doesn't matter. You can change those in the background. I really like this little helper test that says, please enter a decimal for accurate to at least 4 decimals. So they know what to include. And they're going to press submit, and they get it right. Ta-da, nothing super exciting. We can also do more complicated things like equations. Once the system knows you're trying to get an equation answer, it will pop up a little equation panel. And so I can go in here. This works really, really well on mobile as well. You'll notice that I'm only halfway through writing my equation and the system's already saying, do not press submit, because this is not a complete question. You have not entered an answer. So until you actually do an equation answer and finish out your syntax, just don't do this. Let me finish that and clean it up. I had a question from a student earlier this semester, kind of worried, asking what happens if I press enter? He was one of the students used the number pad a lot, and he would just kind of press enter accidentally. And he said, would the system take away a try? I basically messaged him back and said, but you haven't tried the question, so why would the system take off a try? And he was like, well, because other systems do. If you don't try the question, it won't mark you wrong. Let me show you an example of something else. Let's say I do this. This is clearly wrong. If I now try to do that again, the system's going to go, you're answering the same answer. It was wrong the first time. Trust me, it's still wrong. So really nice that students can't do the same wrong answer twice. If the student is having any type of issues, I have never heard of any issues, but they could happen. They could even go up here and disable the equation editor. What that does is it makes everything go into a LaTeX style entry. But the thing I like about it is there's an automatic preview over here so they know what the system is looking at. So if you did a question like this, the student very quickly knows that they have not entered this correctly, right? Because then they go, oh, yeah, no, this is not what I meant. I need brackets in here, right? Let's put some brackets. So that's another option for them as well. But as I said, even on mobile, these little panels work incredibly well. And I've even had students writing their entire tests on mobile, and they seem to really, really enjoy it. This equations panel is also customizable by the professor based on the type of question and what they're doing. So if you've got a trigonometry question, it will load the trigonometry panel up automatically. If you're doing things like confidence intervals, it'll open an interval panel for you. It'll depend on what the type of question is, and you can customize this panel so they get the right kind of tools and don't have to say dig for them as they go. Let me finish out this so I don't get it marked completely wrong. You'll notice down here as well, there's a submit button to jump to answer. This is the student frustrated with this version. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, jump to the answer. Makes it really, really nice that they can just say, I don't know, I'm doing something wrong. Let's do submit answer and then move on to the next question. Oops. Hello, there we go. You can get really, if you're converting from Canvas and you want to do multiple choice, you get simple multiple choice things, nothing fancy here. So you'll notice that there is a save progress button, but there is no submit button or done button because this is homework. So they can log into this, come back a couple days later, log in again, right? So if I now go off to my modules, and I go look at something else in my course and then come back to my assignments. Instead of saying start, it now says resume. And so I can resume right back to where I was. Let's go back to question 3. There's my answer so far, and I can submit. So they can do this over a couple days. I really like students would kind of log in as soon as it went live Monday morning and go, nope, no idea, not a clue. Oh, I can do this one. Okay, I'm going to class this week. And then they log in again later and we'd finish out the entire assignment. You'll also notice here there's a message instructor button. So as a student, I can press on the message instructor and it will open up a little messaging window. This means that this piece goes directly to me as well as a link directly to that assignment question for regrading. This has been my favorite piece of the whole system because students can now say, hit submit, and I get a message which now links to this question and I can see it. And what that meant for me, especially in one of my experimental courses, the students could message me early Monday morning and go, I'm pretty sure I'm doing this right. What am I doing wrong? I would take a look at the code and go, yep, because I coded it wrong. I'm sorry, fix it. And everybody else saw the same thing. The other thing I did for my students was if they did send me one of those, like you messed up the coding questions, I would go and give them a little bonus as well. And so a lot of students were logging in as soon as the assignments went live to find any typos so they could get their own little bonus, which I thought was really, really cute. Okay, other types of questions. You've got matching questions, right? So I can go in here, dogs do bark, cats go meow. These are algorithmic as well, and they're randomly generated. So this list and this list are randomly generated, all that kind of fun stuff. There's also an add work button. This has been really, really, really valuable in this past year while I'm working on teaching online with the asynchronous testing I've been doing a lot and some of the synchronous testing, where students can now go in here and say, because, right, and explain their answer, right? There's a quick little option here. They can add an image. And so a lot of students doing this on mobile are taking pictures of the rough work they've written out on paper and pasting it in here. There's full equation panels if they want to do math and equations in here. They can even go in and draw me a little graph of what they're trying to explain. So really, really rich add work, and I can go through and kind of hand mark this. This is then attached to their answer. So when I'm saying, okay, I see what you did here. Why did you, oh, that's why you did it. Oh, yeah. I teach a course in statistics, and so they're working in Minitab and basically copying and pasting the output from Minitab directly into this. And that's been really, really handy to see how they're working and what they're working through. You can see here I got 2 out of 3 points because I got 2 out of 3 right. So really, really nice grading for larger questions, a little yellow check mark for partially correct as opposed to full. This is a thing I love in my class as well. I just wanted to show you this one. This is a probability question. Don't leave if you're scared of statistics. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But the thing I can do with these questions is I can allow them to enter equations, and not just equations, but kind of unsimplified fractions. So if a randomly selected ticket was probability, don't worry about the stats if you don't remember your stats. But as a student, they can go in here and say, we want male or was more than 40. So male is going to be 6 plus 19 plus 16 plus the other more than 40, which would be 7 over 59. And the system, provided I did this correctly, should mark them correct, which means that I get kind of a rough work solution in their entered answer, which is really, really nice. You can force it so they have to be a simplified reduced fraction and things like that. But it's also really nice just to see what they've been working on. And I wonder if I can show you all the answers as well. Yeah, so you can see the answers in here. And you can have it set up like this. So they're actually seeing, okay, I see where the parts are, right? So not just a numerical answer, but a full kind of, I don't want to say formula, but unsimplified equation. So you can kind of see the work they're working through, which is really, really nice. So this student's now seen the answers, so they can say, you know what, let me get a new question and let me try this myself again. And they've got a little bit of a penalty maybe, but they now get to try the question on their own. You'll also notice that some of the questions down here, there's also question help. My students really, really like this. I had one class actually begging me for more of these. So they can kind of go, I don't know what this is, I don't remember what that lesson is, and that will link them out to a video. I can link it to a YouTube video, a video I made. A lot of the question bank questions already have videos and the hints and tips already built in, and that's been really, really powerful. So I had one student actually message me later on the semester because these are kind of like, it's a somewhat similar question. And he said, sir, you're really kind of spoon feeding us this content and you're telling us exactly what to do. And I was like, I can show you the grade book. It's not true, but I'm glad you feel it's so easy working through these and that you're really doing well. And they really understood it, which I thought was fantastic. Other questions you can do. This is something I really, really like and I want to get more into. This question is not an image. This is an algorithmically generated triangle. So if you notice the sides here and there are different sides, if I, as a student, jump to my answer because I give up and I get a new one, it will get a new image. So instead of telling students image not to scale, side A is this, side B is this, side C is this thing actually is to scale. That is actually 113 degrees. The sides are labeled as such. And you could even put in, if you didn't want to say length BE, you could say find this. I've got some questions where you can actually put the entry box right on the question and say, find this side, and they can put those in, which is super, super valuable. So again, like if I just keep making new ones, this will generate a totally different random question. No more not drawn to scale, that kind of stuff. This question actually is to scale. So if they wanted to take a protractor and measure that, they'd probably get pretty close to the actual answer. Maybe that's a bad thing, who knows? This question is also algorithmic. A lot of these numbers are algorithmic and all those kind of things are algorithmic, including, let me show you, so watch the schedule 40 and heights here. If I jump to the answer and grab a new version, you will notice the schedule down here changed, right? So these are actually annotations on top of an image where you can have those things change. And so instead of saying side A or something like that, you can put those numbers directly into the question as they work. This feature is also really, really nice that you can have, when you get your answer, you can see a full detailed solution, right? So this is a walkthrough of the solution. I think Carla originally made this for marking guides for rough work, but you can also have it just as a full written solution. But that means also for the students, if they get, let me get a new version, this question, and they really don't know how to do it, they can get a written example. Now, this written example is not the same question. You'll notice all the numbers in this question are completely different. So it's a similar question with different numbers that they can walk through and learn from, and then apply that knowledge back to the original question. This is super valuable if you're trying to do like tutorials or something like that. You can just say, here's a written example for a walkthrough, go try the question, and you can work from that. This is generated from that solution file. It's no extra work for us, which is really, really nice. So this is a example from one of my intro quizzes. I always have my students on all my courses. I always have them kind of do a can you use the system homework to start off with. And this is one of those things from this. So this is about the late penalties and how retries and new versions work. And they kind of work through all of this. And so I just get them to do some really, really dumb questions where they go, okay, so if the question was worth 1 mark and they get it right on the second attempt and there's a 2% penalty, then they would get a 98%, right? Number of students who enter this, kind of amazing. All right, 98% as a decimal is 0.98, of course. This question has now given them part marks for getting not quite the right answer, but on a test, I know what you mean. It's kind of correct. And so you can do things like that where it's not wrong, it's not totally right. So they got basically 98%. So I've already taken off that penalty so that when they get it wrong, they don't go in and put the decimal in. I've already done the penalty and all the process for them. So it's wrong, but it's right. So for this one, I won't get that one wrong. Let me go to 0.95. They got marked right, and you can see the marked right. So this you can obviously customize for your own if you want to have a different penalty and a different number of tries, all sorts of stuff like that is entirely up to you. I also have a little slide on how LatePasses work. There's even a little video so they can go through and learn how LatePasses work. He talks about this never use because once this thing goes in past the due date, they get the option to enter practice mode on the assignment if you've enabled it, or use a late pass. Once they enter practice mode, they can't obviously go back and finish the quiz for marks. And so he's saying here, if you go into practice mode, you're done with late pass. We've got to make sure you finish the assignment before you go into practice mode. So he's got that little piece in the video, really nice video. In my course, I have 10 late passes. I've found anything more than that is students end up the course with like 19 late passes left. Even this semester, I had 10, and I think I only had like 4 students use up all 10 late passes all semester. And I have it extend by 24 hours. That seems to work pretty well. So I just have them watch the video, and then go through and, okay, we have 10 for this class, and you can use them whenever. You can set things like this. You can say, I only want you to use late passes up to 3 days late. Beyond that, like, it's too late. So you can change those yourself. For this course, it's whenever. And then, again, you can have a late pass penalty. I do no penalty. That's just me, but you could set up a small penalty for using a late pass as well. And then lastly, this is a question I put on the end of all my tests. So each student has been going along, adding their work to each question, going along and explaining each question. And on the last question, I always tell my students, you know what, just take your camera and scan everything in like a 5-meter radius and hit upload. And they will upload all of the stuff they've got in the vicinity. I tell them this because it's just like when they hand in a test and I go, oh, your formula sheet, let me staple that back to the test. And they go, no, nah, don't worry, I'll throw it out. And you're like, I see you've written on it. I can guarantee you're going to come to me later whining for marks saying, oh, it was on my formula sheet. So please upload it here. I also have to upload their Minitab projects. We're working in Minitab. And I have a little bit of a built-in mark into this question where I can go through and say, hey, you haven't shown me any work in the entire assignment. I'm taking out X number of marks. But again, that's my own personal preference. And yeah, because I haven't submitted anything, I won't let me do anything. And that is kind of how a homework works.